one thing I wanted to kind of talk about, the thing that I kind of just realized, what's the real issue in the hobby.
Let's get into it. What you got?
I've been thinking about it, and I was thinking they got these influencers, you know, they got the products are bad, the products are expensive, you know, people lost a lot of money. But I've been going through my collection, and the more I go through my collection, the more I get not sentimental, but it brings me back to a time, right? So when you go through and you pick up like just random cards, you know, Cal Ripken rookie cards, and those feelings of having a connection with the card. Mm-hmm. These guys, I watch all the vlogs, I watch everybody trade cards, and it's PSA this. It's almost like someone introducing themselves by the title of their job instead of who they are as a person. So for me, I think the passion being gone is what's wrong with the hobby. Because when I watched the Jake Paul break he did with the Pokemon cards, it was disgusting watching what he did for those 10,000 packs. I got into Pokemon, and I'm gonna tie this up. I got into Pokemon because I was looking at the value. It had more cards worth over $10 per pack than anything in sports, and I could get it. So I started buying it, and I didn't have a passion for it, but I just started buying it to the point where I'm almost completed my master set of Vivid Voltage. But I didn't know that Pokemon reprints out the ass. I didn't know that the whole object of the game is for them to be nerds. I didn't understand that. Like it's basically a hobby for guys to get thrown in lockers. Like I don't want to sound like the jock thing, but the passion, since I didn't have the passion, I got burned. I bought 4,000 packs of Pokemon cards, and now some of those cards are selling for $40, $50. Rayquaza secret rares and all that stuff for selling for $40, $50. Now they're at $5 and $6. I got burned because I have no passion for it. The reason why these guys are getting burned now is because they're collecting F1. No one gives a shit about F1. No one cares about F1. No one knows about F1. No one knows about soccer. No one knows about UFC like that. There's no real passion because people are trying to find the next thing. So since that's the case, there's no actual connection to the card, to the player. The guys don't know the damn sport. That irritates me more than anything. I was talking to this kid. I work with kids for baseball. I coach baseball and all that stuff. Individual. Kid comes to me, say he plays second base. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So the way he was moving, I said, man, you kind of remind me of Robbie Alomar. He said, who? I said, Roberto Alomar. He was like, I never heard of him. I was like, what?
How old? But
he was like 17. But
he doesn't know that.
But when I was a kid, I researched. I wanted to know. I had the newspaper. We used to get the newspaper every day and look up what these players did. So I asked him, said, you know who Ryan Sandberg is? He said, who? And he was wearing Chicago Cubs gear, and he said he played second base. And I started thinking, I was like, the reason why you watch guys break cards, they open cards, and the way they flick through the cards of these players, like they pronounce like legends wrong. They don't know know the sport, so there's no real connection. Like I watched. But
let me ask you this though. You play baseball, right?
Yes.
A lot of people today that are in the cards never play the sport.
But that goes for football. That goes for basketball.
They never played football. They never played basketball.
But at least have a connection. Know the history. Like, so I listen to the young guys, the kids who are running around flipping. Now they're into vintage. They don't know none of these players.
What they know is the names of the people that have the highest value.
They know Mickey Mantle. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. Mickey Mantle. They don't know nothing else. So it's like, for me, it's daunting because it's like, that's what made me sell my cards. I was working with a guy who's a sports. He's actually he works with Colin Murray actually, but at the time he did. He was a sports agent. He liked sports. But I was talking to him about cards, and he was just not into it. And I was saying to myself, he was 30 years old. He was the demographic of the people who should have been carrying on the hobby thing. But his disinterest in it kind of turned me off. I said, you know what? This stuff's not going to be worth anything because these people do not have a passion for the collectability of it or the want to have these things. Like for me, I got back into the hobby or got back into the community or the situation back in 2010, 2011, when the NFL did the 100 greatest players in the history of the NFL. I saw it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a card for each one of the players. I said just a card. And I'm going to put it on make a display. That's what the whole thing was. At first, this whole wall was a display at one point. But I started buying the cards and trying to figure out the players. And I said, well, let me start with the worst players of the 100. But that obviously doesn't work because Joe Namath is the 100th player. And he has one of the most expensive football cards of all time. So you start realizing, like, the Red Grange is going to be a hard card. Charles Hirsch, Crazy Legs Hirsch is going to be a hard card. Jim Thorpe is going to be a hard card. So you start getting into this, and I got immersed into the 1955 All-American set, the football All-American set. But it's because I got into it. Like, so for me, it has to become something more than just how much it's worth. It has to become a passion. That's why I say I have no hobbies, only obsessions. Because if I do something, I always want to make sure I cross my T's and dot my I's because I want to be knowledgeable. When someone talks to me, so I keep bringing this hoops thing back up, but the cards here, those yellow cards, I put together that set. Like I wanted to put together that set. I opened up all the packs. I opened up 1,300 packs of hoops. You know how many Zions I got?
1.
0. I broke down and bought it.
That's a chase card.
Yeah. But it shouldn't have been. Now I want to buy it for $2, but it shows me that that's a rare card because the case study showed me like Jalen Green card is not plentiful. So I'm doing the market research to say, you know what, that's not a bad investment. Then I went and thought again. In the hoops version of that particular set, you get a guaranteed rookie card in every single pack. The Donruss one, you don't guarantee a rookie card. So I went through 48 packs this morning, only got 2 regular rated rookies. With the hoops, you get much more. So that made me think, oh, the Donruss is more expensive. The Donruss is a better save for down the road. But these are things you have to put yourself into. Also, people are downplaying base cards. I just thought about this the other day. Base cards are trash. And I thought about it. I was trying to buy a Zion Williams Prism PSA 10. That's still a $200 plus card. When in the hell a $200 card was trash? A $200 card is a solid card.
Well, I take trash. When I hear someone say base is trash, I take it as base is not what it was in 2020.
But that's not what they're saying. They have people believing like,
but you got people that have come into the hobby that came into the hobby during the boom. So they was using base for a particular reason. They use base to move base, make money, but you can't do that anymore. So under that rationale, base was trash. We came in base. That's all you had. Like the Jordan card. People talk about stuff. The Jordan 86 Fleer is a base card.
Yeah.
That's what we grew up on, J. Mike. So when somebody says that, I feel something back here in the back of my neck. Like, what are you talking about? This is the core of the hobby. If you got a child that's walking a show, when we go out, we see children all the time, right? They have base cards graded. That's how they're trying to make that move. So that child, that kid who's introduced to the hobby and have their Apache case walking around and they're trying to make moves, that whole case is trash. But it's about where did you come into the hobby at? We didn't come into that.
But see, I get that, but it's coming from people who have no knowledge of the hobby or the community. So it's like I take offense to it to where you're telling me about stuff that happened 2017 and up. You have no knowledge beforehand. You're gonna be gone once this shit is over.
If you're not already gone,
they're gonna be gone. So it's like I hate when like the same. All right, so also the same thing happened in sneakers. I have a crazy sneaker collection. That's how I got all these cards. I had sneakers. Once anytime these companies start trying to eat into the second and third market, the product always becomes less desirable. I understand people like, hey, they got to get their money. You have to let them eat and then deal with everything else. If you look at all the stuff that's happening right now with Fanatics and how they've been moving with the lottery system, the way they're setting it up, I heard that 50% of the places that had tops lost their allocations. You're going to have more direct to customer relationships. You're going to have subscriptions where the people who are the regular customers are going to be able to have subscriptions with Fanatics. If they do this, it's going to eliminate an element of, to me, it's good, but it also is going to work bad because people are not going to have the desire to want to have that product because they can already get it. The thing is that no one wants the girl that everybody has. Everybody wants something that's exclusive. Now, if you try to eliminate that element of it, it'll hurt it. Like, you need the flippers and stuff. Like I said, I hated the flippers. I was like, they don't even care about the card. They don't know about the cards. Then I thought about it. They are the person that gets the card to the collector.
Speak on it.
And me, I was like I said if Card Collector 2 came to my booth, I would tell him I'm not selling to him. I love your content, but I'm not selling to you. I'm not about to Roth. I like watching his stuff. I would never sell to that guy. He's a junior collector too. And not in a bad way. It's like you could tell that he's learned from watching him. Like he tell a guy, he was like, yeah, man, I don't want to beat you up too much on this, but I'll give you 70% of comp. And these people they're selling the cards to him. And I thought about it. I was like, my cards are for the end collector. My cards aren't for the person who's trying to sell after they get it from me. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to, like, if I tell you, hey, those two cards, I tell you $100. You say, you can't do 75. I'm like, nah, I'm firm on 100. Then what you do is you go and pick out a card that costs $50 and say, hey, can you do that for 120? And I'm like,
oh, you talking about like a combo deal?
That's how they do it. They just keep adding a card. Yeah. I'm not letting you do that.
I know the game.
Yeah. My cards are not for that guy. Like, and I realized that I have a Nolan Ryan. I have a 1971, the black card, the black Nolan Ryan 71 card. It's in really good condition. It's probably a 7. That card is $2,500. I didn't know that because also I have the Munson, the Herman Munson card. I have the rookie card that's a gray card, but his second card is more expensive because it's a black border card. I'm not going to let you come up to me and tell me about some damn comp. I'm like, well, go buy that card then. You're not getting mine. I hate that it's like these things mean nothing. Like I said, I remember wanting the 86 Canseco. I remember the Bo Jackson Topps traded card. I remember the 85 McGuire. All these things, and these people who are collecting now will never experience that. They're gonna
let me ask this question now. Let me ask this question because I've asked this question to some people. I want to get your take. How do you bridge the gap between our generation and the generation that's after us? When you talk about knowledge level, knowing the sport, love of the game, love the cards, respect the cards, know your history, how you bridge that gap?
The only way that happens is if the market keeps retracing. Because if like what you're seeing now, people circling the block, vintage, that's all you're hearing. With that being the case, you have people, these guys are looking up the last sale. They're not looking up their last 10 seasons. They don't know why Roberto Clemente was so beloved. They don't know why Nolan Ryan. They look at Nolan Ryan's record. He was a 500 pitcher. They don't know he was on some of the worst teams. Like they don't have the knowledge. So what's going to happen is, and you're seeing now, these old guys who have these vintage cars are spanking these young dudes. They selling them trim cars. They selling them fakes. They selling them all kinds of stuff because these kids don't know, and they're just going there with money. They're bombing these people, and the old guys not even off the price because all they want to do is take the car and grade the car and flip the car. Because I watched foreign.
But I still don't know how to get from, and I've thought about this a lot. How do you get from, and things may just change. We have to embrace that. How do you get from our generation, stuff you're talking about is stuff that I do, right? It's a thing I get into certain things. I want to learn the nuances. I want to know 100%. I'm not a lukewarm person. I'm either I'm on it or I'm off of it. Anybody here knows that. They'll tell me that. My friends that I've known for a long time, they'll tell me that. This is how I'm built. But how do you bridge the gap from talking about who is really Roberto Clemente? Why is Emmitt Smith not the greatest running back of all time? There's all this stuff. How do these 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 17, 16-year-olds, how do they get into that? I don't know if they do. I don't know if
they may not. What I was getting at is if they get burned enough, that may put them in the mindset to want to do a little research to find out what's really going on. Like a Pittsburgh Steelers fan is a different fan than a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. Like,
but think about the modern basketball market, right? There are some modern players' cars that are worth way more than some of these top 75 guys. And that's because I think the average person that's selling cars, I'm gonna use the word average.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about, and when I say average, I'm talking about how much they do research, what are they looking at? Do they get into the nuances of what's going on here in the world of sports and how it translates to cars? So that's what I mean when I say average. I want everybody out there to know that. The average person is looking at what's on their TV right now. What is Ja Morant doing? Like, I talk to people about old point guards. They don't know who I'm talking about. But they know Ja Morant.
Yeah.
And they know Jordan Poole. And those are the car prices that, like, I just saw on eBay the other day. There was a Jordan Poole Flawless for $10,999. Now I could pull a lot of top 75. That car's not that expensive. The person today that's really collecting cars is looking at what's on their TV. And that's why I believe you have these people who, the Anthony Davises of the world, maybe even Damian Lillard, that are in the top 75. And people could say they shouldn't be there because it's about what are you watching right now. When that game comes on ESPN, can we say there's 3 top 75 people on the court? Or are we going to say none and only put in players on the list that played 15 years ago?
That's kind of a speaking of that.
Nobody knows who he is.
This is a beautiful card.
I always talk about what's on sale. No one knows who he is.
That's a beautiful card, but
it is a great card.
I said that I said that in the video I made. What's going to happen is that you're going to have to let those kids go. It won't be, that won't be your cards. That won't be your market. It's going to be people retracing, the people who really want to get those real cards. I saw a kid was talking about Joe Montana. He was like, yeah, Joe Montana, he's a good player, but I want to go. I want to no, he didn't say what's the other kid? Not Mahomes, but the other kid in Buffalo. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
He said, I want to GOAT. I want Josh Allen. I was like, wait, what?
You do know GOAT is a very loose term.
Oh, 100%. I'm a GOAT too. So I understand it. You know what I'm saying? But he said Joe Montana and was like, he was just like a regular player. And I'm like, he was the GOAT before Brady became the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? But they don't know that. But that's fine. That means that the Joe Montana is going to be available. You know what I'm saying? To people who really want to collect. I like looking at, like, I listen to Jeff Wilson. He doesn't like vintage. He doesn't like old cards. He only likes the new stuff. And I'm like, that's a turnoff.
But there's a lot more people making that statement. They're either making that statement by their buying habits or they're making that statement verbally. People, you go to a show and watch what people are buying. And then you'll walk up and see a gem. I saw I think a 78 Dr. J All-Star card. This is one of those large cards.
Yeah.
PSA 8, I think for $400, man. That's crazy. I was about to buy. I mean, I was just there for one thing. I'm standing in front of this table. Like, can I believe this? This is the stuff I'm talking about. So if you like vintage, or you like older players, or you like that story behind, yeah, you're gonna go into a show and probably find a lot of gems, a lot of stuff that people just walking by because they're like, man, is that a Jordan Poole rookie?
Mm-hmm. See, I like probably broke a PSA.
Okay, Kevin
McHale rookie,
81 tops. Yep.
And I have a few of them, but see, I like you. All right, so I try to collect players that if you can't tell the story of that sport without them, I don't want them. So you can't tell the story about the NBA without talking about Kevin McHale and the Celtics. You have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think that side of it, and what I think what everyone is doing is prospecting to flip it. It's not like you're thinking like this is my all-time PC. You're thinking like, how much is it going to sell for? And I think that's for them. I'm not into that. I want cars that mean something. I want stuff that resonates with me when I tell my story of how I hit a home run my first college at bat. And I remember hearing stories of Bo Jackson doing the same. You know what I'm saying? These things that when I tell my story, they actually go along with it. But me talking about 2017 is just like, I just can't do it. It's just like, it's whatever. Y'all got
a lot of people only really look at what they've seen since they've been born.
You said they don't PC?
They only look at the sport or the cars after they were born. A lot of people.
Greatest card of all. My favorite card.
Now, when we were kids, right? When we were young, that was a difficult card to get. Definitely in a decent condition. That's the word we used back in the day. That was the car. I could never get that car, man. And when I was young, I could never afford that car.
The car was $100. It was $300 in 1989 or something like when he went 40-40.
I could not afford. I remember I was in my Beckett looking. That was $300, and I couldn't afford it. Remember the McGuire Olympic card tops?
Yeah.
Couldn't afford that. I pulled some out of packs. They were all off center. I couldn't afford the one that was really worth money. Yeah. The McGuire wood grain.
87.
I couldn't. I pulled some of those out of packs. Still off center. Some of them had some gum stains on them. I couldn't afford really the car that was in good condition. And all those cars now, not even worth that much.
But I probably have about 150 of that McGuire. But you know what I don't have? I don't have 150 of it in Tiffany.
Yep.
So I can go and get. I have the Conseco and Tiffany. I have the Bo Jackson Tiffany. So for me, that's the kind of time I'm on. I much rather do that. And I think at some point, as the market keeps retracting, it's gonna force people to have to put respect on what came before. The 1980, like I have every top set of baseball all the way up to 1990. I have 79, 78, all the way up. But I also got all the Donruss sets from 82 on up, 81 on up. I have all the Donruss, whatever Donruss first year was. I have all of them. I'm going to start breaking down those sets. I'm going to start doing videos on it, breaking down, like pulling out the cards, showing the cards, just going through the sets so people can understand, because I keep saying, the passion part is the part that just kind of.
But you know what's funny though? We don't even have to go back to when we were children, right? When I look at from when LeBron started, because I always look at collections like before LeBron and after LeBron. Mm-hmm. You talk about Vin Baker, you talk about Alonzo Mourning. I could just start naming some players that most people today don't even know who they are. Don't even know who they are. But they can talk about LeBron. Right?
Well, Vin Baker's that's 94.
Vin Baker was a baller, man.
Oh, he a very great
baller.
Baker, big dog Glenn Davis.
That's right.
Grant Hill, Penny.
Yep.
There are, but I just for me, everything I do, I research. Like for pool, like I said, I play pool at a very high level. I studied Earl Strickland. That was the guy that I studied. His personality, the way he hit balls. Now, people say Efren Reyes was a better player than him. But for me, I wanted to be like Earl Strickland. So I studied his game. I watched all his stuff. So I collect the same way. So if I get into a player or get into somebody, I really do the research. I just hate like people buying that like F1, like they talk about F1 and they don't really like that. Like it's not even real. It feels very forced, and I don't like
somebody one day. F1 cars have been out since the 70s, 1970. First F1, I think 70, 71.
And when they get burned, and when that one burns up, oh, I'm gonna throw a second line like I'm back home in New Orleans. Because there ain't no way you're paying $100,000 for a dude sitting outside his goddamn car. Are you serious?
But you know, now car prices have a level of hype. There's a level of hype to them. Think about how LaMelo Ball cars have come down. LaMelo Ball, fresh out of a pack, Prism base was $1,500, ungraded. The first 3 weeks out.
Oh, you talking about the silver? The silver?
No, sir. This was base. Yeah.
Well, when I pulled,
I was standing in an LCS. This was the first week he came out. People were ripping. That car was $1,500, man.
Actually, you're right about that. And the reason why I know that is because by the time I pulled mine, it was $300.
There you go.
And the LeBron base was $150.
Yeah, him doing the Kobe dunk.
Yeah. And now it's like $20.
Thank you. So there's a level of hype that's there. And when that guy pulled the card out, I told him, you should sell that right now. Because you're never going to see that value on that card again.
Well, the biggest one that did that was the Mac Jones Donruss base.
That card went crazy.
And it's crazy. I have sets of I have like a couple of factory sets of it. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep it in there. It's like I should have most definitely got them things graded.
Let that thing fly, man.
Yeah, but
that's the hype of the cards now. You know when they come, like right now, the football prisoners came out. You see what these cards are selling for?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
These Muse cards.
Wait,
I think they're called the ones with the artwork on them of the player. Aren't they called Muse?
No, I thought they're called the color blast.
Okay, whatever they're called. Brady is $15,000.
Oh, there's a card. They break out. It's SVL cards. It's Chuck and another guy. It's two guys. They open cards all the time. I watched an old video. He pulled a Brady gold, and I didn't realize it sold for $55,000. He said, so I said, tell me you didn't sell that card. He said, I sold it. I was like, please tell me how much. He said $1,500. He said, I had no idea that stuff was that expensive. He said, when I got offered the money, I just took it. But what's the real value of that stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is the manga. That's what it is.
Manga? The manga. I haven't seen
manga. This car is listed at 25 G's.
Oh, wow.
Now, we all know that's the list price. I can list anything at what I want to.
Wow.
The Brady, I think was right here, is listed at $15,000. Yeah, these cars just came out, I think, last week.
Should I get one of them? I might drive to PSA.
Hey, Cornelius, everybody, Chanson, whatever people think is good to be iconic. These kids don't have great memories of sports figures like we did. This is true. There's not a lot meaning behind some of the card investor stuff. That's right.
So like this is always gonna mean something. Like that photo, you can't.
That's great, man. You tell a PSA 8 in that. That's great.
Like that pit, like it. Like it could be back here. I know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
But this, I just want stuff that means something. That's the only thing. I mean, make your money. Have like I watched Jeff Wilson. He traded with a kid who was like 15 years old, had like $1 million worth of cards. The kid did a bad deal. I think that it was a bad deal. But watching the kid have these cars, and he had like Mickey Mantle, Ricky Henderson rookies. He had a great variety. But I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if he knows anything about the player. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is just that I'm more impressed. Like Ryan Breakout Cards, super impressed by that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows the frauds, but he knows the players. He knows the story. Like I watched the whole thing with the great curator talk like how he saved the non-sport car market. Like I was rocking with it because he said something that kind of not touched me, but he said he's telling the story about the car, and that's what made the car worth so much. That to me is bull. That you ran a bunch of game and sold the card up, and now you're using it like as a platform booster. But I do agree the fact that when you have a big card, it does bring attention to what you have going on. So there is value in that. But when you're selling stuff, or you realize that you have the ability to turn the way people feel about something, and then you start selling it, I can see how people jump out their face to say that you're doing what they call it, pumping and dumping and all that kind of weird stuff. I'm more or less like, I want to hear the story. I want you to tell me about, like, my grandfather was telling me about Hank Aaron and such and such, and that's how I got into collecting these Hank Aarons. I like those type of stories, not you telling me these whimsical stories about the Curacao card. And I'm not buying no damn Star Wars. Star Wars for nerds. I'm not buying that. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. I'm not going to let someone push me in that direction. If that's what you want to do, collect it. But don't let someone influence you or make you feel like that's what you should be doing. Like, that to me is just whack. Like, collect the stuff you want to collect.
So we got some Star Wars. Hold on, man. We got some Star Wars people in here who's like, hey, what's up? Stop. Star Wars is dope. And then Sin City says, J Mike, we all have a little nerd in us.
Oh, no. What? We got a lot of nerd in us. What you talking about? But I'm saying, I wasn't getting thrown in lockers and shit. You know what I'm saying? I was getting a nerd out of the locker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's different.
We also got some great creative people in here who's saying, see what happens when you talk about the great creator? And then Feed the Gods, I think, made a comment. It's awesome that you bring up the great creator. He's such a good guy and a good friend.
Oh, I bet look, and I like him. I think he's full of shit sometimes, but I like him. I like what I'm saying is there's good in everybody. I just don't like when people are playing the game. Like, look, the whole positive thing, I get it. But we have to be realistic. And like I said, I actually defended him in the video I made, because if I'm buying something, like I said, my hoops, I bought $2,000 worth of this stuff. Of course, I want this to work out. Of course, I want it not to be a bad buy. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, I don't look as knowledgeable if I'm saying, hey, this is what I did with my money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk it up to where at least it's going to make me feel better about myself, knowing that I spent $2,000 for 99-cent cards. You know what I'm saying? So we all do that, but don't position it in a way where if someone thinks different, you kind of roll on them a little bit. The one thing I do believe, you can't go to another person's platform and tell them how they should do things. Like, I don't think you should do that. Like, you can't, I'm not going to let you on my platform and talk trash about me. I'm never going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
I've asked myself before if I would be open to someone coming on. This would be like, you remember LL had a few rap songs where he had some guys on the song trying to rap. Yeah. I think I'll be game for it.
No, I'm talking about if I'm doing if I have a video, you're in my comments, questioning me, telling me, badgering me. I'm not gonna let you do that to me. One, you're not gonna do that to me because if you saw me in person, you'll run on the other side of the street. So that's the first one. I'm not letting once again, I'm not trying to be nerd beating up, but whenever have the who dictates what's cool? It's never been the nerd. No one does that. And I'm not saying that like when you look at certain people who are in position in this community, these are people who would not be cool outside of this. These are people who look like they don't bathe. They just look like they sit there and look at their computers.
Art asks a good question here. What is the meaning of all this positive, negative stuff? I'm trying to figure it out.
They're trying to protect their investments.
But let me say this though. So when I first started rolling with FD, people would leave comments and tell me, "You're too positive, and you don't talk enough about the negative stuff that's happening in the hobby." And so I always talk about what I actually do. Right? That's what I do. So when you watch an episode or you hear us here talking, or you hear us talking about sports, I'm pulling from what I know, of what I've done, or what I am doing. Like I could come on here and have a whole conversation about what this person over here making content is doing, right? That's not what I do. I know I'm knowledgeable of almost everything that's happening in the hobby at a given point in time, from a card that's on the table to some content that just came out. But I'm not here. I don't feel like I'm here to give. That's just not this channel, people. There are other channels out here that will go in deep, that will have 15 episodes really talking about the same thing over and over and over again. So I asked the question. If that's what that person wants to do, I applaud them. But rolling with FD, you're going to hear something from me, and then I'm going to keep it moving because that's what I actually do.
So this would be I think this is a good opportunity. I think this is something I would see. I'm not saying that you should be negative. I think the pro and con is one thing. But if I just spent $3,000 on a Kobe card, I'm not about to put no jinx on my card, talking about the market's crashing after I just spent $3,000. You damn right I'm about to be positive. Now, I say that to say you paid over what you probably could have gotten a different card a little bit cheaper, but you paid more for it.
Well, you talking about me personally or someone else?
You, because of the subgrades, right?
What card was that?
The Kobe, the EX.
Yeah, I paid a little bit over because of the subgrade.
So that is not negative. It's explaining your process.
But I even said that in the video.
But that's what I'm saying. You do it.
Oh,
you do it. So for me, I wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. But listening to you, that showed me that you're a collector. Mm-hmm. That to me, and also I said that about the personal finance dad. I said I would never collect like him because he buys some stuff that's never gonna make money. But I thought about
that's what he loves.
Yeah. He's a true collector. Mm-hmm. But I think the one trend that I don't like about the community is that people are just making a video about what another person made a video on, and they do it. It's like 3 or 4 people. They all do the same video. Like, yeah, I just referenced my friend such and such. Then I did a video. Then another person references that person. I'm just like, that's trash. But I appreciate the people who are buying what they like.
So Feed the Gods makes a great comment here to me. I would rather have an honest, calm, and collected conversation about either one of you and disagree with you. Doesn't mean I'll disrespect either one of you. I love different points of views from me. This is me.
Oh, yeah.
This is me, right? We could get on and talk. I could bring Feed the Guys on here right now. We may talk about some stuff that we're like, yep, we agree on that. We may talk about other things where we're like, no, I don't agree on that at all. But I love hearing the different conversations from people and the different points of view, and I respect them for telling me what they think. I'm not going to trash and just throw him under the bus and then have have this, that, and the other about Feed the Guys and what he said. That's just me, though, right? I'm just telling you about me. So I think now I get less of that. I think people know where I'm coming from, a little bit more about me. But it just got me when we were probably at 200 subscribers. We were here all the time. Well, why aren't you talking about PSA and what they're doing? And why aren't you talking about? Because the way I think, right, when it comes to a PSA price, this is just one example. Either I'm going to hold my cards, wait for the price to drop, or I'm going to pay it right now and get my card back.
Yeah.
I can't go into a McDonald's and be like, so why is the Big Mac X dollars? Why is the milkshake X dollars? That's what it is. I could either do business today, or I could walk away and say I'm gonna go do something else with my dollars, like buy more cars.
Yeah.
That's just me, man. It's just that simple to me. There are some things I hear people talking about and tiresome. Like they're just talking about it. Like, okay, what else are we doing? What else are we doing?
Well, see, that's how I felt about Raul. I like him, but he keeps saying the same thing over and over again with no solution. Like, I'm like, look, yes, these people are pumping and dumping. Okay, now what? You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, like, let's move on from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, leave the hanky panky. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. Make some shirts, sell the shirts, and then move to another topic. But I originally started following him and liking him. I like mentioning names. I originally started following him because he was doing the little quirky autographs. Like, I got this postcard signed by such and such. I paid $10 for it. I'm into that type of stuff. Like, that to me is collecting. That to me is refreshing. But when it's like a constant thing about the same thing over and over again, it kind of makes me like, but I like the conversation. I like the conversation. I like the discussions. I like the interest. Like I was talking when I was talking about the passion. The Logan Paul or the Logan Paul break. He broke a box of cards, $10,000 a pack. He got to the point where they weren't even showing the cards. He literally just started skipping to the last card. That's your card. Put it to the side. You could tell he didn't even want to do it. The hype then died off to where you disrespect somebody that paid $10,000 for a pack of cards. And once I saw that, I'm like, this is done. No one's going to care because the effort that he put into that particular break, you could tell the hype is gone. And that all that hype that they built up, the equity they built up into Pokemon with the excitement that they created, it's a wrap. It's done. Off of that one break, that showed me where the hype train started and where it ended. It would never get back to where it was. I watched that and I felt violated by watching that break, and I wouldn't even purchase any of those cards. But you mean to tell me I paid $10,000 for a card and you're not going to have a camera on my card? You're going to do it on Instagram? Like, and then you had like it was just disrespectful to the nth degree. That's like me getting a pack of 86 Fleer, and you just you ain't getting nothing and throw the pack to the side. Like, what? You gonna show each one of these cards for $10,000 a pack? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we got Cornelius Gross here. He says, "FT, your videos are super dope." I appreciate you, Cornelius, because I learned something new from almost every video. You're very knowledgeable and professional. I appreciate that. I just want everybody to know that I just show, record, and put out what I'm thinking and how I actually get down day to day.